terrains being live streamed. That's a good sign. We'll get up on YouTube. Get things rolling. I hope everybody's well caffeinated and feeling good this morning.
And we're live.
All right.
Howdy. All right.
Cool. Well, we've got Rick and Woody and Darren here this morning. I think David's absent. I'm not sure what's going on, but we're going to look at a bunch of beautiful black and white images that people submitted. And Rick, you want to make a couple announcements? We're going to talk about the next office hours is mid-June, right?
Next office hours is going to be June 13th. And we're figuring that will be sort of a general gear Q&A. Mm-hmm. By then, I imagine that a large portion of the people tuned in here will have their Z8s or be going, well, I'm glad I didn't get a Z8. We're also expecting Leica to announce the Q3 this week. Mm-hmm. So there'll be a bunch of gear to talk about. And we'll take general gear questions as well, but I'm sure we'll be talking a lot about sort of the newer stuff that's coming out. And, you know, us poor Sony guys can just go, oh, that's nice. I don't think I have any other announcements. You know, for us, we've got a couple of months off. Hopefully we're going to spend some time working on the organizing course we've been promising for a while.
Yeah, we've been working on outlining it, and I've been actually applying it to my own Lightroom catalog. So there's progress.
Yep. So, but we've got the Glacier workshop starts the second week in July. Well, actually the end of the first week in July. We got the Oregon coast and then Moab and Yellowstone, and Hudson and I and Charlie and David are actually going to go on a little scouting trip to Scotland for the Scotland workshop we're going to do next fall. And we're hoping that we'll get at least a couple of 2024 workshops posted in July. One will be the Mazatlan workshop, which the Eclipse workshop, which we've already got a very long email wait list for. We're also going to do Costa Rica next year and Scotland. So, but we should have more information on 2024 workshops. I would say by the end of the summer, you should have a pretty good idea of when the entire 2024 slate is out. So,
I have just a few quick gear-related announcements too, just stuff that's coming up on YouTube and just in my personal world. I'll order a Q3 on Thursday when they announce it. There's a number of people that have gotten the Leica after watching, you know, whether in workshops with me or watching videos. I have a setup video for the Q2 that'll go up either today or tomorrow on YouTube. It's like a full comprehensive setup guide. And then I'll do one for the Q3 in a comparison video. The Z8, I should get very, very soon. It's inbound. And I've been testing the new manual focus Z-mount Voigtlander lenses, a number of them. For the Z cameras. And, you know, while manual focus isn't for everyone, these lenses are really, really beautiful. They're sort of Leica style, gorgeous manual focus lenses with electronic contacts for focus peaking and just been loving. I have a 51.0 I've been playing with that's pretty nutso on the Z9. So lots of fun stuff in the not so distant future here. So shall we dive in and talk about and all, you know, any and all gear related stuff from any brand? We're happy to talk about in the next office hours on the 13th, but obviously I think it'll probably be pretty heavy Leica and Nikon. So right. Anything else before we jump in and have a look at images?
I don't think so. All
right. Black and white, something a little different than we've been doing. And our good friend Alon from the Portland workshop has our first image here. Lovely lighthouse scene. Sometimes lighthouses lend themselves nicely to black and white.
Up in Sequim, Washington, New Dungeness Lighthouse.
Yeah. I haven't been to that one.
Yeah. Nice composition.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna move just a little forward the foreground grasses, but it's lovely. I really, really love this one, Bradley. I'd like to know where those toadstools are. That's just a killer composition.
Let's see if he, this is Brad Barnes, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Images from the Bisti Badland areas of Ashislipa. I'm sure I mangled that area in New Mexico. Shot with a Fuji H2.
It's gorgeous.
Yeah.
And this is I love, you go out and maybe you're scouting, thinking about what sunset light's going to look like. What are the angles going to be? You think of that traditional color landscape photo, and then you're in the middle of the day, you got kind of harsh light, throw that camera into monochrome mode. And, we had a couple of questions. Do you shoot in black and white, or is it all just in post-production? I think it's just a wondrous thing, whatever camera brand you're using, to throw it into the monochrome picture mode. Even though if you're shooting in RAW, you're going to get a color RAW file, but you can look at the world in black and white. And that's something that even the great black and white photographers of yesteryear didn't have at their disposal. No. It's just a different thing seeing just pure contrast, and it's wonderful. I really, buying the Leica Q2 11 months ago, or getting it as a present used from my wife, because I loved Elizabeth so much in Costa Rica, I started playing around with its black and white modes, and I just realized shooting through that OLED viewfinder in black and white, it's like, whoa, this is a game changer. And then I started playing with it more with my Nikons and loved it there too. And you can always, if you're shooting black and white plus JPEG, you can quickly edit a black and white JPEG and you still have the color RAW file. Or if you really love it, you go in and convert the color RAW file. But this is the perfect example of when to use it. So this is Bruce Korb.
Turkey vulture.
Yeah, turkey vulture. Interesting. It looks like maybe as you added contrast to the turkey vulture itself, maybe it added a little contrast to the out of focus details in the background a little bit.
Yeah, so they're very distracting.
Yeah, and I bet they don't look like that in the RAW file. I think it's getting a little sharpening in contrast.
Yeah,
from you boosting the contrast and sharpness in the bird, it's going image wide, and instead I would mask that and limit that. It's a beautiful, beautiful picture of the bird. The background just got a little distracting on that one.
Hey, Hudson.
Yeah.
Change your view to speaker mode, please.
Change my view. Oh, yeah. Sorry. Let's see. I think I have to stop sharing. I'll be right back, guys. Hang on one second. I thought you were the host.
I was, and I went to gallery on YouTube for some reason.
That better?
We'll see in a second.
All right. We're on the boardwalk, huh?
Yeah, I'm just seeing your screen.
On YouTube.
Yeah. Oh, on YouTube?
On YouTube is where it matters. Yeah. Sorry about that, folks.
Keep going. We'll
All right. All right. So this is a really nice shot, Colin. It just gives me a feeling for the moment. And again, that harsh middle of the day, there's not that much going on in the sky, but it's just a white backdrop. It works better, I think, than the color would. And the color would be a little more distracting.
I would have liked a little bit more from an angle, like if you had sort of gotten to get that couple in front so that they were sort of a little bit more to the side, they're a little bit better defined. But it's a lovely black and white shot.
I think if you step just 2 steps to the left and you created this line could be a little more diagonal moving through the frame.
Yeah.
A little more background of the amusement park. I agree with that. Darren, love that cloud.
So this is a phone shot, Darren?
Yeah, this was on my phone. I had my Z6 with, but I actually liked the phone one, the RAW, and edited one over the one off the Z6. So
this one's good. You've got a really ultra wide camera on that phone.
Yeah, it's the Pixel 7 Pro. So I think I was at the ultra wide, the 0.5.
Yeah, I might try play around a little bit with the distortion. That the shed looks a little. It looks like it's about to fall down.
Lifeguard shack.
Yeah, I have the same problem with all the iPhone. The iPhone ultra wide camera. It's really hard to shoot stuff like that and get it look right.
I was up backcountry skiing on Mount Hood with my wife on really early Saturday morning, like middle of the night, and I was using my Pixel phone over my camera so much, just partly because of laziness, because I didn't feel like getting it out, and it wasn't safe with an ice axe to be climbing with it on, out of my pack, and partly just because the images in high contrast were just so good. It's amazing what phones are doing now. The Demapita. Wow, this is an interesting.
I've been to the this is in Situate, Massachusetts. Yeah, Situate Lighthouse. That's very cute.
It's a cool lighthouse.
Yeah, it's a very cool lighthouse. It's been a while.
I love the sharpness of the house, and I think the softness of the sky and the texture and that overcast is really cool. One thing I think you should do in a shot like this, just in future, is set up on your tripod and focus the foreground, shoot it, focus the midground, shoot it, focus infinity, shoot it, and blend those in post. You can really easily do that in multiple different pieces of software, from Photoshop to Helicom Focus. And I just think, it's tough when you've got such interesting detail in the foreground and it's just a little bit soft. It kind of distracts me. Are you feeling that, Rick?
Yeah, I would agree with that.
This is a perfect candidate for a little focus stacking. Beautiful shot, though, and I think the black and white really suits it well.
Huh.
Eric, cool tree. I'd crop it just a little bit more, less dead center. Would you agree with that, Rick? Maybe a little, like if you crop a little off the left side.
Yeah. I mean, it's so stark. I think it works, but there's almost too much negative space in it to me.
Yeah.
It
would be cool as a square crop.
Yeah, I think a square crop could work here. That's a beautiful shot, though. It's a very cool high key shot.
I agree. What great clouds. Really nice framing. I like the way that the line moves off the ship to that light on the hill. There's just a shoo, and the texture in the sky is just wonderful here.
Yeah,
beautiful. This would be great in color too.
Over processed either.
No, it's not over processed at all, and it's nice and sharp. I'd love to see it in color too. I think it probably is great both ways.
Yeah.
That's the kind of light. Wow, this is nuts. Some kind of I'm not even sure what's going on. Is this like a tractor coming through, loaded down? Whatever it is, it's splashing a lot.
That's our old friend Mike Estes.
Oh yeah. I haven't seen, that's awesome.
Aquatic combat at Lake Lafayette. Whatever aquatic combat is, that's it. There.
Well, the water is definitely experiencing some violence, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Well, it's good to see.
They have in North Plains out in the Portland area. Every year they do these antique combine.
Crash up derby.
Yeah, to crash up derbies. They're hilarious.
They are really funny.
Absolutely hilarious.
They all go to take each other's back steering wheel out.
Yep.
And then once they're grounded, dragging their butt of the combine along the ground, then they start bashing them. Yeah. We
know that place.
Yeah, we do.
We know that place.
Nice Sunstar.
Yeah, it was a really good Sunstar, and in a good place too.
Yeah, I like the way the shadow comes down off it too. Nice. This is quite lovely. Wow.
Jamie. So it's he's got a full spectrum.
I was going to say this has a little bit of a look of infrared going on here. The leaves on the trees. Sky is lovely. And the composition, I'm going to come off of here. The composition is just great.
Yeah. That's our old friend Moab.
Yeah, it is.
With some of those beautiful rocks. That's a lovely composition. I really, really like this, and I like the processing in it as well.
Looking forward to getting back to Moab.
has the look of the Needles district, not so much Arches, but I could be wrong. But Needles has those rather amazing, slightly different rock formations.
And I will say, I think this is one of the nicer infrareds I've seen in a long time.
Yeah. Yep.
Really great shot. Ooh. Jerry. I think we saw this image recently, did we not? In Cuba? I think we did.
One of the images he showed. Yeah.
Yeah. Wild.
It is wild. And that one I think is actually in the White Sands.
Yeah, White Sands, Nevada, or in New Mexico. Yeah. Very cool. I love when the wind blows and we have fresh, untracked lines in the dunes. It's gorgeous. Wild sky. Jim, we'll be seeing you again soon. Can't wait. Where's this? Iceland?
Yeah, coast off of Iceland.
Yeah. Stark.
That's a nice shot. I love that. Love the storm. I was actually to prep for this, I was been working on a bunch of stormy Owens Valley images that I had, and I was struggling with them because I had taken a little bit too much of the stormy sky and not enough of the foreground. And this just has the right feel to it. It's a nice balance.
It's Jim. Must be Jim.
Yes, it is. Our good friend Jim. Yep.
Fun scene.
Up somewhere in the in Northern California there, or central Northern California, Sonoma, Napa area. Shot with a Q2.
Yep, there you go.
Yep.
Sharp.
Yeah.
Another infrared from our
Ken. This is wild.
Yeah, it is.
This one's really wild, Ken. The D700.
Ha! Must be a converted D700.
Yeah.
Very cool.
I love it. I love it.
That's crazy. We had a couple of good infrared shots here. I like the negative space at the bottom on this too. It just works. Here we got a little sepia toning going on from Camille. Great sky. I might back off the sepia just a little bit. What are your thoughts, Rick?
I'm not a big sepia fan. I mean, there's times when toning, I do tone images, but it depends on what type of feel you're trying to give to the image. It just feels like such an old technology at this point. Yeah. I mean, I remember doing them in the dark room.
Right.
But it's a nice shot. I might crop a little bit down just to not have so much sky.
I would agree with that.
It feels like the balance could be a little bit more harmonious.
Yep. Loretta, we're in Cuba. I love the person here. I'll bet if this is seen larger on a bigger screen, it stands out more. I think it's one of the bicycle taxis in Havana.
Yeah. And I just take a brush and maybe just do a little bit of just brighten those shadows a little bit.
Yep.
Just to not make it feel like such a hole at the lower left corner of the image.
And it might be that Loretta's editing on a little bit brighter monitor too. It all depends. If you're all looking at it on a brighter monitor, you might be saying, well, what are they talking about? But if you're sort of color managed for printing, it looks a bit dark.
Yeah.
Beautiful though.
It's a nice shot.
It's a nice shot. Mike. I love the pier. The sky is amazing. Really nice job not letting it go completely blown out, but going right to the edge and using all that dynamic range. I think the composition's lovely.
Yeah, this is a time where I think there's so much sky, but it's really anchored by that pier.
Yep.
And what's going on down there. He didn't say where it was from. Capitola Wharf. So he said it was on his home in the morning and couldn't resist stopping to gather the view.
Good job. I love it. I think it's really beautiful. And your horizon line's right in the right spot. It just all just works really well.
Mhm.
Mush. Great job, Norma.
I really like this photograph a lot.
I do too. And
It really, when I first looked at it, it was like, wow. And then my second thought was, whoa, there's so much negative space in the center,
but it works.
But it really works.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that all the detail. I mean, it's like this someone would use for a book cover, right? You know, this would be, you know, you could put type all over the place and it wouldn't get in the way. But it's amazing. A lovely shot. This is one of my favorites from the gallery. Was this one? I just think it's so well done.
You know, and this big sweeping line of this valley behind the ridge coming up, you know, there's this triangle that's so foundational to this composition, and then this negative space. And you know, you always talk about setting things off to one side. You know, traditionally you'd say, well, you'd want them starting from here and ending over here, but it just works in this one. And it's like human and dog is Morse code, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And the fact that there are an odd number makes it work better yet. You know, if it were 4, it would be as good as if it were 5. It's just great. Yeah.
This was up in Whitehorse. I hope you print this one, Norma. Mm-hmm. This one deserves to be printed large. It really does.
Beautiful shot. Oh, I really like this one too, Paul. Yeah. Again, you know, I think that sometimes when you're taking photographs of people, you know, I don't think I got it until I was doing more. I've been doing a lot more people photography this last year and a half. And sometimes black and white just brings you into the eye better than color. You know, the color can distract. Beautiful. This is a great shot. Great shot.
It really
great
is.
Great connection with your subject, and love it. Get a feel for this person. She looks fun. This is so sharp. Really nice job, Paul. The sky is crazy. I love the long exposure. You know, and sometimes having a little bit of there's a little, some people would say, well, the sky is noisier, but I think it works to just add to the mood in this image. I wouldn't change a bit about it. It's just beautiful. Really, really.
Yeah. It's a beautiful composition.
Mm-hmm. You know, and the waves coming through turn to mist. I don't know what your shutter speed is on this, but I'll bet it's at least 120 seconds, if not more. It's just beautiful.
What does he say? Midday. Actually, didn't put how long his exposure was. But, 4-minute exposure.
Yep, there you go. So another stop beyond what I said. Yeah.
Fuji X100. Very nice.
Yeah. I have requested a Fuji X100 5 from B&H to sort of review against the Leica, and I've been waiting for. They can't get those. They're just I've
they're the
been
TikTok camera.
For like 6 months. I've been waiting for them to get one in stock to send me.
Yep.
Oh man, that's fun. See, this is where I just love using a wide aperture, even in broad daylight. You know, great job, Pete.
Yep.
The background is beautiful, and yet, you know, not distracting, because it's just, you know, it's just a hint of what it all is. And we're drawn right to these rowers. This is great. Fun shot.
Philip.
Nice, Philip. Beautiful.
One of our Canon friends.
Yeah.
Who puts up against the Nikon onslaught in the workshops quite well.
He did quite well. Yeah.
He gives as good that he gets.
Yeah. Yes, he does.
And there are 10 of them.
He's a wonderful photographer.
I said there are tens of them, the Canon people.
Yes, there are plenty of Canon people. They have, but in a workshop filled with Nikon, he gave as good as he got.
Yeah. Yeah. He and his buddy Jim, who came on the Tetons and are coming to Moab with us. Jim is a Nikon guy through and through, and the entire trip, the two of them were going back and forth, you know, trashing the other. And of course, when Philip was trashing Nikon, of course, everyone else on the bus, you know, had to sort of join in as well. So, but
I loved. Oh,
This
go
is a
ahead.
great shot. This
It
is
is
a really great shot. I love the crop on it.
in the moment.
Yeah,
The moment's
is-
perfect.
Yep.
I have to say that my favorite Jim and Philip moment though was when Jim got his new Z9 and then something happened or somebody got a brand new Z camera and did something to it like day one, and then all of us are chiming in. Oh, I did that with my D850, or oh, I did that with my D700, or oh, dropped this camera right when I got it. All these things that have happened, and then Philip's being nice and quiet, and then he's like, "Sounds like Nikon shooters are clumsy."
I'd agree with that.
We might be.
Cracked me up. Reno, lovely. Finding that foreground piece of interest. I think that's the wide angle landscape photographer's challenge. So often people get out with a wide angle lens and they've got nothing to anchor the view in that wide scene. This is just a great job of that. Really nice. And the patterns are lovely and fun sky. I would almost like to see it, a little more of that sky, but I know sometimes that's all the clouds you've got. So that's the choice you made. But, if there were more beautiful clouds like that higher up, I'd like to see even more sky, but it's beautiful.
See a lot of square crops today.
Mm-hmm. Richard, this is such a cool architectural picture.
It is wonderful.
I love the angle on it where we just go from, I don't know. And then there's that sky, the sky's there and you exposed it so well, but then it just drops to that gill-like architectural bit and the reflections. That's a cool shot. That's a really cool shot.
Said that's the picture of the Oculus in New York City. Maybe when you're there next month, you can go check it out.
I believe I shall. I might take some long.
I think what really makes this image is the reflections in the windows, the way that it just sort of stair steps up into nothing. I mean, and
the texture in the sky adds to it too.
Yeah. That's a delightful image.
Well, it's like we're going back in time. And, Robert, that's where maybe it makes a little more sense to do a little sepia, because you're kind of giving it that extra effect. Stuff. Makes it feel a little more old timey, although the somehow the flag painting on that looks more modern.
Yeah. I've seen it, these engines are still out there. They're still pulling stuff.
Yeah. We got a couple here in Portland at the train museum. They run at Christmas time.
Yeah.
Wow. Very cool, Rob.
Very nice shot, Rob. Very nice shot. I think it's moody. It looks like there's some processing stuff you did on the rope or the wire and the mast extension there. The things just look a little kind of blurred intentionally. And that might just be processing, but the composition is wonderful, and that just the texture in that boat is phenomenal. So
there's a little posterization too that might be from the JPEG rendering.
Yeah.
It's very cool. Very, very cool. The light in this one is just great. And I can't tell if it's like some compression or maybe it's being up-resed from something a little small. It looks just a little soft on the bush.
Yeah. Well, it's very small too. I think it was probably uploaded at a very small size.
That's what I think is going on. I think it's being upsized from a little too small a JPEG, but it's really a fun shot. The light in it and that crack just make it. It's great composition.
Yeah. And before you went, Stephen, I saw your question about printing and Ventura, and I will send you an email specifically about that.
This tool shed, perfect.
It's great. It's great.
Yeah,
it's a really nice sort of modern still life.
I love it.
Yeah.
I have, especially as a kid that grew up on the farm. It hits home, and it's just the light is wonderful in it, and the sharpness, corner to corner, is fantastic. And it's perfect black and white subject. It's really nice. Wow, Ted, that's a lot of erosional landscape right there. It's a geomorphologist's dream.
A Mavic shot.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I mean, we're either up in a plane or this is a drone shot. It's a really nice Mavic shot. Did he say which one?
Factory Butte.
No, I was meaning which Mavic. It's really nice.
Yes, sorry, Mavic 3. Yeah, it's a very cool shot.
It's a really cool shot. The sky is great too. Great use of drone. And this line just it's fabulous.
And it doesn't come out of the corner.
Terry, oh, I gotta go back. Terry's definitely nosing up the teacher here.
Yeah. And Terry, and I can hear Terry. Her question was, what is there to like about black and white photography? I don't get it. And Terry, I will tell you, I get it, but it's a very difficult thing for me to see the world in black and white. You know, it's like I struggle with it. Even when I shoot in black and white mode, I almost always end up going back to color. But I'm just a color guy, you know. But you got to remember too that the first 125 to 150 years of photography, the primary way that people shot was black and white. You know, it wasn't until the advent of Kodachrome and then some of the color photographers in the 50s and 60s where it was even considered okay to shoot in color. So
Terry is over on YouTube and says, which came first, the car or Hudson Henry?
Well, the car in this particular case, but yeah. And I know that car that's in the Palouse and in the town of Palouse, actually, it's always there. But I have some shots of that particular grill as well. You know, I am finding myself more than ever shooting, you know, clearly, I mean, if you look through my work, it's all been color, you know, with an occasional black and white rendering of something that's just really high contrast. But it really is getting this little Leica and playing around through its OLED viewfinder with its black and white mode that's made me just look at things a little differently. And even landscapes now I'm thinking more about landscapes in harsher light and more in the middle of the day because they can come out so beautifully in black and white, and also just photographing people and low lit street scenes and things. I don't know, when there's contrast and where I really sometimes I'm starting to see that color can be distracting from what I find really important in the image. And so, yeah, it's interesting. I don't know. I'm finding myself using it more and more. And it's also
Elizabeth suggests that you just get the Q3 monochrome and then you can keep the Q2 for your color work.
I'm going to primarily I'm not going to tote 3 cameras around with me at a time. I'm happy as can be with what comes off the sensor. Plus the monochrome will be a few years, a couple years after the original. They won't release them together. Wow. This is Tony, and wow, this is interesting. Good job.
Office in Portland, Hudson, down across from Union Station.
This is a cool image of the demo of the old city as the new city looms in the background. Particularly with that brand new high rise. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Great job, Tony. In the middle of the day, that's the time to be thinking about black and white. It's neat. Ow. Wow, that is a furry-footed beast. Seen a lot of draft horses, but that's got like Cocker Spaniel feet. Yeah. It's a really cool shot, Al.
Draft horses are beautiful animals. They
really are. I've never seen one quite like that before. That's a beautiful horse.
Yeah. It's kind of like a cross between a paint and a
yeah. I mean, I feel like it's like a Belgian Cocker Spaniel Pinto, blend. Really cute. My daughter I got to show Pepper this picture. She'll be like, oh, she wants a stuffed animal. Carl, this is a great frog. And I love the sun reflected in the eye. It's just cool. Really cool. Nice job, man. Did he say, is this with the 105?
It is, oh no, taken in 2006 with a D200 and a Sigma 150 millimeter macro.
There's Carl. Nice job, man. There's a woolly beast.
That is a woolly beast.
Mm-hmm. We'll be back amongst those guys soon. That's a nice sharp eye. Great processing.
And the composition's wonderful. Composition is really nice. Solid. Background is something else.
And, I think this is another example of, if you got a really contrasty scene, you can just lean into that contrast in black and white in a way that often in color, it kind of breaks down.
Mm-hmm.
This is so cool. I love the texture. It's great.
Yeah.
Ooh, and fun. Great job, Harris. That's cool.
A really nice shot, Harris. I like this quite a bit.
You too.
It's just beautiful. It really is.
You know what it is?
It is, I believe, it is the Tower Voices in Pennsylvania. One of the 9/11. It's where the plane went down in Pennsylvania.
Sure.
And
even cooler.
This is one of Harris's projects, I would say. I think I could say without it being incorrect. He's got some ideas in his head for photographs there. And when I saw this one the other day, I was like, wow, Harris, how come you haven't shown me this one before?
Yeah, I really like this.
This one just it's magnificent. It's really magnificent.
I think that's another place where black and white can really shine is in architectural photography too. And again, contrast, highlights, shadows, gleaming near specular highlights. And sometimes, like I would have Harris go back to this one too. I love it as it is, but if you had a day with some cloud texture, with clouds, interesting clouds moving fast, to do this with like a long exposure with the clouds blurring through could be crazy looking. It's all good. Or even just sharp cloud, but it's beautiful as is. Oh, I know where that's at. We're back in here. Oh, this is my buddy Jeremy. I haven't seen Jeremy in forever, and it was so good to see him this weekend. He came through with his little girl, and it was great. And this is a fun shot. Beautiful sky. Again, middle of the day. That kind of high contrast. Nice job, Jeremy. Love that spot.
Tuscany.
Really, yeah. A place I can't wait to get back to. I spent the summer I was 30 and studying abroad, living in Florence, and it was one of the best summers of my life. And traveled around Tuscany and Rome and the Italian Riviera, and it's such a beautiful, beautiful part of Europe.
This feels a bit dark to me. Especially the foreground. The foreground. I think I'd like to see it just a little bit lightened up.
Behind the sky.
Yeah, no, I think in general, it feels like the center has sort of had a little bit of processing to it, or it was edited with that.
Maybe even a vignette got applied.
Yeah. But I'd like to, I'd go again with a soft brush and just sort of, paint in some shadows and exposure down in the foreground, and then up in the upper left corner. It just feels dark, and I think you can do a little bit of lightening in places and still get that overall drama of the scene.
Yeah, make sure you drop your screen brightness a little bit. It might be that it's being edited on a really bright screen too, and then that tends to lead to a darker image. I think if I was looking at this on my color managed screen, I would very likely boost the entire exposure by a quarter of a stop or a third of a stop, and then pull highlights down a little bit, and then paint a little more shadow detail into the foreground, like you were talking about. Right? Good call.
Ken, I love this shot. I really like this shot, Ken. And I'm assuming this is a self-portrait. Is that correct? That's
looks like Ken.
I can see him in the.
Yep. You can see him in the gallery.
Yeah. It's a beautiful shot, Ken. It's a really nice shot.
Really good.
I love the sort of still life.
Mhm.
You know, the deepness of the shadows is, I mean, the fact that you can see so much going on in the
Mhm.
background that sort of sets it up is just wonderful. A really good shot, my friend.
And wow, he's been working those sun stars. I love the Spanish moss hanging down.
Where's this? Winter Haven, Florida.
Like it.
Used to be
Nice
the home
sunset.
of the Red Sox spring training. I don't know if it is anymore, but when I lived on the East Coast, I went down to Winter Haven a couple times to watch
You know,
the
there's
Red
just
Sox in the
nothing.
spring.
There's nothing wrong with silhouettes. You know,
Nope.
the silhouette in here, the pattern and texture is really nice in this.
Yeah, and you get a good sense of what's going on in the shadows.
Speaking of shadows, we got Lee here. I think the sky feels just like a little crunchy, just on the edge, but it's beautiful. And I love the shadows coming across the foreground. And I would just back the contrast in the sky off just a little bit.
Yeah.
Maybe a little noise reduction, but it's lovely, lovely composition. And the light is just fantastic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a phone shot too, which could
even
also
more
be
impressive.
part of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
That changes things a little bit. It's beautiful. I just love these shadows. I love the line through it.
Golf course.
Mark, this is fun.
I like this quite a bit.
I do too. I love how the wheels just bent.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't mind that it goes to pure black down here. We can see the door handle and the window handle, and yeah, it's cool. We got almost white to almost black, just moving across with that bent. It feels like a Dali painting with the steering wheel doing that. That's just cool.
He did it's a 2-image focus step, the interior and the exterior. So
see, there you go.
And he's been working the infrared. It's nice. I'm glad we saw a few infrared shots today. I was wondering if we'd get some. Yeah.
Ooh, speaking of high key.
Yeah.
Oh, very cool.
It is very cool.
Yeah.
I wish there were like one more in the distance, one more like one of those little posts, but it's a great composition. It really
is. It really is. Yeah, I love it. I love that line. Abe, it's sharp foreground to background. Again, I would back the contrast in the sky off a little bit. I love the way it's looking in the reflection.
Yeah, I think it feels a little over sharpened but I'm assuming that's probably more the JPEG than the actual processing too.
Yeah, I would back sharpening down a little bit, and you could even drop if you're working in Lightroom, you could drop a graduated filter in, pretty quick transition graduated filter right on this horizon line, and just back the sharpening and contrast in the upper portion of the image a little bit, because I feel like it's great in the lower part. Really cool. I love how we can see through to the bottom, but we still have the reflection. It's gorgeous. Well, nature threw you a black and white here. You don't need to do much to get black and white in a scene like this. Same with Pascal's back there.
Yeah.
Very cool. I love this, that it pulls you into that winter scene.
Yeah, it's a lovely, lovely winter shot.
This one stood out to me the minute I saw it, Paul. I have some Raven photos that I love, and this one is just gorgeous. I love when the wind blows their feathers backwards and they're looking at you like that. And the reflection in his eye is just incredible. So sharp. Yeah. Really
shot
nice.
With the Z9 and the Nikon AFS 600.
There you go.
But the texture in the body feathers is just, you have that one Raven shot that I love so much. And, you've got the Raven looking at you and the eye is so sharp. But what really draws me into the image is that just the texture on those feathers.
Yeah, mine wasn't shot with that 600. That's a showstopper right there. Beautiful, beautiful job. This has a pano feel to it. I just love the way it's blowing up around the mountain there. The sun is a little crazy off to the side. It feels, it's a tough one. I don't know. I might play with some different crops. I don't know if I need the sun in this frame, but it's interesting. What are your thoughts?
I mean, well, if this were my shot, I would probably be like, damn, the sun really is not helping here. You know, we talk about this in critiques. You know, it's like you see something, you go, oh, I got to get it. You know, like you see the rainbow and you miss the, you know, the actual image that's really out there because it's like, well, rainbow, you know, and this kind of feels the same way. I like everything but the sun in this.
I agree.
One.
I agree.
I think if I really were wedded to this photograph, I'd either try a crop where the sun's just not in it, or God forbid, I'd do content aware fill and take it out. I don't feel like it helps the image. I mean, the star of this really is that center component, you know?
Yes,
you don't need that entire butte in the image to sort of give that majesty. And it actually would work because on the right side of the image, you've got that other butte that's cut off. Yep. So you could crop it, and that would be a nice sort of framing element for both the left and the right. And then you still have all of that cloud.
Yeah. So having done a lot of these ultra wide panos, you know, and this has the feeling to me of like a 14 or 16 millimeter panorama that's very, very wide. And you're almost getting in a little trouble trying to keep the sun in here because you're doing a lot of editing to try to darken the sky because the exposure is changing as you're moving past the sun at that angle. And I think that, you know, if the sun's important to you, you need to shoot way past it, and you need to put it needs to be more here in the frame of your pano. And I would almost argue that, you know, what I would do if I wanted to try to get the sun in the frame too is I'd probably stop down a little bit. I'd bracket and shoot it as an HDR panorama, and I would just shoot a straight up 360, just go all the way around, you know, at ultra wide. It's not that many frames. And then you can throw it together, and you could still take the part that you love. And you could maybe do a pano that's not as many shots, that's just the spectacular part of the sky and cloudscape to make sure you got that one, that you don't need the HDR, because the only thing that pulls you into needing the HDR is having that sun in the frame. And it's just makes everything more complicated. It's doable, but I don't think you want it on the edge like that. And then there's that transition from kind of completely different exposure needs that starts right when you start getting into where you're shooting into the sun. Yeah. But you know, I think it's a bravo for the vision and the attempt, and I think that you've got just a magnificent image croppable right in here. It's awesome. So another really nice scene, Chris. This is beautiful clouds moving along over the river there. I think I would again, we've said this a few times in this series of images, back off on the contrast in the clouds in the sky just a little bit. You know, they start to get that little bit of edgy feeling to them. Yeah.
And this is another one where I take a soft brush and go along that set of trees on the left side and just sort of bring them out a little bit more. They kind of have a look of mush. Yep. They feel like an important part of the image.
Agreed. A little shadow boosting in there. Wow, such a great light, Dave. This is fun. I don't know what f-stop you're at, but that lens is throwing really nice point source stars. And I love the way that it lights that rock and throws the line of light along the water towards you. That's just lovely.
There's Z7 70 to 200, F13.
Yep.
90-second exposure. It is beautiful. It really is beautiful.
I love that.
I would, this is one where I'd see if I could get a square crop out of it. It's pretty darn close to square, it looks like.
Yeah, I agree.
It's weird that the water looks like a sonogram.
Wait.
You know?
Oh, this one? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. And you can maybe pull a little more shadow detail right in here. Just a little.
Mm-hmm.
David, cool travel scene.
Yeah, this one is good. I mean, I'd like the couple a little bit further into the scene, but then you don't want them too much further because they'd get in the way of that other couple down the middle of the road. I like the processing on this one a lot. You know, it works for this image.
The grungy kind of look.
Yeah.
Totally works, yeah.
You know, and
I'd like to have this guy's foot if I could too, though.
Yeah. Well, that's street shooting, right?
Yeah, I know.
You know,
woulda, shoulda, coulda, but it's happening fast.
Yeah. You know, how many street shots did I get from Cuba? How many am I going to show?
Yeah.
You know?
It's cool though. It's a great shot. Good travel image. Aww.
Speaking of,
another great one. Nice job, Elizabeth. Aww. So cute.
They were so yeah, it's just amazing.
Yep. Really, really nice. Adorable moment.
This one's not Havana though, correct? This one is
No.
the US.
Yeah, that's
yeah
for sure. Yep.
Yeah. No.
This is like Canyon de Chelly somewhere. Really nice, Jim. The light's beautiful in this. Really great line with that ladder going up. Seen lots of images of these ruins, and I love this one. The detail.
Yeah. One of the places I would really like to go.
Oh, we should make that happen.
Yeah.
Arc. We got a color image in here. Snuck in.
Yep. I think maybe you didn't refresh. We took that one out at the last minute because it was color. So
well, it's a nice flow through. Sandy. I love this one.
Yep.
Beautiful.
I would ask if she had a version where he was looking at her, because I think it and maybe it doesn't have as much impact as this one. This one feels like this man is telling a story and there's a pause.
I believe this is one I haven't seen that she might have taken on our Dia de Muertos workshop in Michoacan some years ago. Sitting in the graveyard at night on the Noche de Muertos, the night of the dead.
Oh yeah,
I think so. This was.
Oh yeah, she does. Yeah, actually, there you go. It says Noche de Muertos. It looks like.
It was an amazing trip. That is one I will not soon forget. And we're talking about maybe revisiting that in Oaxaca in the not so distant future. Yeah, what a special night that was. And this is a beautiful shot, Sandy. And we were trying to not disturb the people there for the most part. We would sometimes catch people's eye, but a lot of times we were working with like an 85 or 105 and sort of not disturbing people so much. This, I believe it's Rick LePage. Whoops. Yep. That's our own Rick LePage. That's a very Rick LePage shot done in black and white on the Columbia River. I love it. I think it's really
part of my Columbia River project. Most of which is in color. But this is one of the places along the river that I stop at quite a bit when I'm traveling to and from my Portland amigo. And it seemed to work a little bit better in black and white.
I like
not
it.
Quite there, but yeah.
Love the sky, the windmills in the distance. I love that part of the state. Well, and in Washington too. We're looking at Washington across the river here. It's beautiful. This image, I should have refreshed. I think I'm going to save this one for last. I'll come back to it. This is an image of mine that was in the early days working with the Leica after I got it. And this was during our Portland workshop with Gary Sharlock. And we had been out on a kind of a bland morning shooting along the river. We went out hoping for a nice dawn and it wasn't great. And then we went over to Water Avenue Coffee and we were having a morning coffee. And, there's a lot of color and distraction in the scene and the neon and everything. I shot it in black and white mode on the camera. This is what I was seeing through the viewfinder and I loved it. And then, when I looked at it and the color raw file side by side, there was just, to me, this was all about the black and white worked so much better. It just draws me into Gary. He is the subject. If you have, a neon colored bar sign and all these colors on the board back here and, colored chairs and all that, it's just sort of, your eye runs all over the frame more. Instead, you just see bar Gary. It works for me. And I'll throw one of my favorite images in, and one that made me sort of jealous was like the day that the Q3 came used, or the Q2 came used off eBay in the mail. I was running around with it and I'm like, this thing's astounding. And I showed Stacy how to use it, and she was playing around. And then Pepper climbed on her belly. We were laying in the sun. It was one of those just beautiful Oregon days in our yard. And she snapped this shot with it. And this is the JPEG straight out of the camera. I don't think I tweaked it at all. I'm like, dang it, Stacy. You know, she won't admit it, but she's a heck of a real.
She is a really good photographer. She
really is. Yeah, she has a fantastic eye, along with all the other things that she does, like build tripods for all of you guys that order them, and work on people that have pain and ailments as a regenerative medical doctor. She's also a good photographer. And there's my little girl Pepper. So I think, you know, it's that in this scene, I looked at this image in color and black and white too, and all the green and color and everything sort of distracted you from what's at its core, which is Pepper.
Yeah.
So
I would think, you know, just in general, talking about the whole idea of shooting in black and white. You know, the tip of setting your camera to go into black and white picture mode, you know, keep it neutral, really is a good way to work, especially when, you know, either you're in a rut and you're looking for something to help you get out of it, or it's the middle of the day and you're shooting, you know, and as long as you're shooting in RAW, you can always get the color information back. But when you're looking through the viewfinder, you will see the image in black and white. You know, and you think about that, you know, the guys who shot in the, you know, the 30s and 40s and 50s, and the war reporters and all of those journalists and everybody, Ouija, you know, they're looking through their viewfinder at a color scene, and yet, you know, transferring it to black and white. I think that was a skill that we've kind of lost over the years. You know, it's not often, especially in landscape, when we're sort of setting up on tripods and things like that, where, you know, I'm thinking, oh yeah, let me see what this looks like in black and white. But I did set up, you know, one of my custom function buttons on my A7R5 so that I can instantly get to that picture profile section for me and turn it to black and white. You know, it's just like two presses of a button and boom, I'm there. You know, you and I did some work in Glacier last summer in the middle of the day when we were scouting, you know, and did some really cool long exposure black and white work in the middle of the day with you know, neutral density and, you know, and a polarizer, you know. And you look at polarizing in black and white in the middle of the day, it can be pretty amazing.
Pretty amazing. I think about that Owens Valley scene that we had driving back from Lake Convict Lake that morning. Rob mentioned that, you know, and it's like, I worked on a couple of those images potentially for this, but it, you know, they didn't resonate with me as much as the Columbia River images that I've been working on. And that's been sort of a longer ongoing project anyway. So I think that was the morning during that workshop where I talked to all the folks there and said, you know, we're middle of the day, but these clouds are so dramatic. Throw a polarizer on and put your camera in monochrome mode. And I kept hearing these, wow, holy cow, oh my gosh, this is so cool. You know, it just changes everything in the middle of the day.
And one other thing that I'd suggest, especially if you're, you know, you're using one of the apps that has a really good organizational tool like Lightroom or On One, or like Capture One's getting a little bit better at it, is, you know, I spend time each year going through my old catalog, looking at old images I shot. One, because you know, the tools for raw editing are so much more advanced now than they were when we were shooting, and you can take advantage of those. Actually, let me see if I've got this image handy.
The tools are fantastic. I think that, you know, it used to be, especially for those of us who came up in Photoshop before there was Lightroom and before these other software packages had full-blown raw editors, that you would edit in Photoshop and then you'd need a tool like Nik's Silver Effects Pro.
Silver Effects, yeah.
Yeah, and nowadays I just love the way that Lightroom works in black and white. I have it set so you can share if you want to share your screen, or
No, I don't think I can. Well, let me just see quick. I mean, I have an image that I shot in 2003 or 2004 with a Pentax, and we were shooting in RAW. Oh, here it is. Okay, let me see here, and I'll share in just a second.
All right. But, you know, one of the great things about if you're shooting in color to work on a black and white image is that in the raw editor, if you go into where it usually is hue, saturation, and luminance sliders that you can individually adjust colors, you still get that in the black and white, but you can work on just the individual color data with darkening and brightening those color channels, which is really cool. It's another reason why I'm not so set on the monochrome version of the camera.
So this image was I think it's a 10-second exposure. I mean, this was like one of the very first raw images I shot, you know, and my apartment was down by the Bay Bridge, and I love this shot. I've loved it for years, but it was super grainy. The color image is okay, but and last year when the noise apps were coming out, you can see I ran this through no noise, and it kind of cleaned up a lot of the stuff. I mean, this was a really noisy image. It says ISO 200, but you know, again, we're talking. I mean, this was I want to say it was a 12 megapixel camera. You know, and now I feel like working, and I was working on this. I was thinking I might do this, but I'm not quite done with it. I'm not happy with the island out there. But you know, that type of stuff, going through your old catalog and looking at some images and wondering what will they look like in black and white. You know, playing around with them that way. If you're in Lightroom, you can take your edit state, create a snapshot of it in the develop module, so that if you go through and you do a bunch of playing around, you can always get back to that snapshot of the image before you edited it, or you can create a virtual copy and do whatever you want and compare the two side by side. You know, I find it in general, whether you're talking about black and white or not, that going back to your old catalog and sort of looking at things with a fresh eye is a really great sort of practice tool. So,
yeah. Absolutely.
All right. Well, I think it's time for us to close.
Bravo, everybody. Bravo.
Yeah. Great work. Really great work. I know it's a stretch for a lot of us to think in black and white and edit in black and white. There's some really great work there. June 13th is Gear Q&A General. Woody's already got the page up, so you can put your question in, and you know, we'll remind you again as we get closer. Figure that we'll be talking about 2 very special new cameras. And whatever else you want to talk about. So
cool stuff, guys. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Darren.
Yep.
Thanks, Darren. Thanks, Woody. Thanks, Rick. See you guys.